What is up, everybody? Happy Monday evening. Welcome to the CheezeTalk podcast, a rare Monday edition of my CheezeTalk podcast with a special guest, Cowboys Regg. And I'm pretty sure you guys can guess why we're talking tonight after the 40-40 tie last night in overtime. Reg, thoughts on your game last night, and welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Brian. Glad to be here. Yeah, man. I mean, we chatted a little last week, and I said, I have no expectations of this game. I saw this game probably getting out of hand like the last time we played, but maybe even worse because we had some injuries and obviously not having a pass rush without Micah. I had zero expectations for this game, so you know, I kind of went to bed last night, believe it or not, kind of like feeling like we won the game, honestly. I know today I realized looking at the standings, like, yeah, they didn't put a win in the win column, but they didn't put an L in the L column either. So, that was probably a surprise. Obviously, the point spread was, I think, 6.5. So it surprised a lot of people that game ended up tied. But yeah, I mean, I just didn't. I mean, I wasn't upset. Let's just put it that way. I wasn't celebrating, but I wasn't upset after that game.
Right. And in the whole Parsons thing, I don't know. It's Dak. Dak has been. I mean, people always run Regg on the Cowboys, but Dak is a good quarterback, and if he can get people that are open, he's going to give them the ball. It's like the next man up mentality, and that's what it was last night. I mean, George Pickens had the game of his career last night. And that the running back, I forgot his name, but
Williams.
he ran the ball really good too. And I mean, we were in shotgun formation, and by the time the ball was getting back to Jordan Love, they handed it off to Josh Jacobs. There were defenders in the backfield touching Jacobs. I mean, to be honest, I'm surprised that we stayed with you guys. Obviously, Jordan Love, 31 for 300 whatever yards, 3 touchdowns. But the defense couldn't stop a freaking runny nose. It's just totally opposite of what we expected to see.
Yeah, what's really sad as a Cowboys fan is that this is the offense we've been waiting for probably the last decade. There's actually a running game. Javonte Williams came in averaging 5.3 yards a carry. This was actually not his best game, but you notice that this guy can run. I mean, you see that number 33 running downhill, and you're like, where'd this guy come from? Well, he was out in Denver, and he tore his ACL, and everybody kind of wrote him off, and good old Jerry picked him up on the cheap in the offseason. And I said during the preseason, they never played him one single snap. And I said, well, there's either two things going on here. One is he's still hurt, or two, he's so freaking good they don't want him to get hurt in the preseason. Well, I think it was the latter. He's actually really good. But, without a defense, we're just wasting a good opportunity. Dak looks like he's playing his best. The running game's playing well. And you got George Pickens, and soon to be, in 4 more weeks, you'll have CD back again, too. But this is what it's going to take. You got to score more than 40 points to win a game. That's not a good formula, man. But
right. And like you said, tying, with a game tied, you felt like you guys won. And with the game, in my personal feeling, I feel like we lost. You know what I'm saying? It's like you think back to the basic fundamentals as last week against Cleveland. Oh, everyone's like, oh, you should blow them out of the water. Block field goal, change everything around. Jordan Love is a terrible quarterback. We got to think about Jordan Love. Once they gave up all those points in the last half of the game against the Browns last week, he drove him right back down, did his job.
Yeah.
Well, what else? He can't kick the field goal. He can't block for the field goal. He got the team in position to win that game, and the field goal got blocked. And the play-by-play announcers on the radio were even saying, "Oh, the Packers' first field goal today was almost blocked." And it's like, here we go, it's getting blocked. And sure enough, it got blocked. So that game, we should have been coming into this game 3-0.
Yeah.
And then we're up, 10-13 on Dallas last night, and that block extra kick.
Yep.
That just the whole momentum just shifted. And then even towards the end of the game, and I think Dobbs had a hell of a game last night, 3 touchdowns. but I think we scored too quick at the end of regulation. It's just like that meme. You have that Packers fan sitting there in Dallas, and all the Dallas fans are around him celebrating with like a minute 42 to go, and that's when Aaron Rodgers drove the team back down. It's like the script flipped, and that's like Dallas fans. Oh, you guys scored. We're going to drive right back down and score again. It's just so many boneheaded plays last night. That long heave hove to was that Pickens again that caught that one where Nixon was 10 yards deep in the end zone.
That was
What are you
Jalen
doing?
Tolbert.
Yeah, him. Nixon. What in the world are you doing back there?
I mean, I saw this. I don't know, it was PFF or something, and they said that pass had less than a 1% chance of being complete based on where Dak put that ball. You had to have both tiptoes down. There was like 3 inches between his toes and the sideline when he went up to catch that. So, yeah, you could say that was poor coverage, but that was just it was the pass that Rodgers threw in that playoff game years
Jared. Yeah.
Dallas. It was the same pass. It was like kind of coming full circle, and unfortunately, this wasn't a playoff game, but it was like deja vu, right? It's like Dallas in the way Dak's playing and moving the offense. I believe they had 29 or 39 seconds left when the Giants scored a few weeks ago, and they were celebrating. And Dak drove them down the length of the field to kick a 64-yard field goal to put it in overtime. So, yeah, I wasn't feeling when y'all scored and left. I mean, over a minute, right? Did you say a minute? Yeah,
It was a minute and a half. I mean, it was crazy.
The way he was playing, the way the offense was moving, that you're right. There, and I am seeing a lot of scuttle on the internet today from Packers fans saying they're not happy with the way LaFleur ran the plays at the end of the fourth quarter and at the end of the overtime. I mean, he really kind of played for the tie there at the end. I mean, there's no question he played for the tie.
Almost played for the loss because the ball. I mean, it goes out of bounds with 1 second to go. You're damn lucky that went out of bounds. You know what I'm saying? It just
Jerry. You get that joke. Jerry pays the refs. Well, apparently the check didn't go through because if Jerry would have been paying the refs, that clock would have been at 0 at the end of that pass. And
right.
Anybody could dispute it if it was, but man, it's 1 second. You all got that 1 second, and it was the right call. I'm not complaining, but I've seen them tick off before. I've seen field goals go through the upright with 4 or 5 seconds left, and they tick the whole clock off. So, man, that was close right there. Almost a bonehead move on Jordan Love's part there, throwing that pass at all. But why were they even throwing a ball in the end? Would they have 5 seconds when they started that play?
Yeah, how do you know? But if you go back and watch that play, guess who's going across the middle at the goal line wide open?
Oh,
Tucker
really?
Kraft.
Yeah. But
I mean,
you
it's
throw
just
that pass anything short of the goal line, and the game's over. You got to score.
By the time he would have caught the ball, he would have been going across the end zone.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just management. I mean, you're under a minute to go and you're doing a stupid swing pass or flat pass to the receiver, and then that's fine if you want to do that play. But throw him the ball when he's heading out of bounds so the clock stops.
Right.
Stop the clock. Especially if you don't have any timeouts left. It's just, but like I said earlier today, I'm glad I'm 1,429 days sober because last night would have been a game that I would still be feeling it today. I would still be feeling it, and I'm glad that I don't let games control my life anymore, the outcome, because it's like just another day. You wake up, you feel good. I mean, whatever. It's all good competition. These guys get paid millions to go out there and entertain, and I mean, last night was entertaining, and that's.
Well, just listening to people talk today that aren't fans of either team, and everyone was very entertained. And I overheard. We went out to eat earlier today, and overheard a guy say, "Well, most of those games that go in overtime are like 6-6." He's like, "That one was 37-37, and even though it ended in a tie, that was a great game." And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess from the outside looking in, you would say that it was a good game." Hey Jennifer, how you doing over there? That's Mrs. Cowboy right there.
Yeah, you got you have allies coming on.
Yeah, yeah. She's she's a big supporter of my page and the Cowboys. I appreciate her.
What's up, Jennifer? But yeah, no, it was entertaining. Um, all you can hope for is let these guys. I mean, on the Packers standpoint, like what I look at it as, get these get these last two games out of the way, head into the bye week, just reset, just I said last night, when they get back to Lambeau, lock them in, don't let them back out. This, but
Right?
no, this you got to learn from your mistakes and move on. That's part of growing in any sport, in anything in life. You learn and you move on the next day. And that should be kind of fall on the coaching staff. And we had injuries along the line. You guys had injuries on the line. You had CD Lamb out. Hell, if CD Lamb would have been in, I think it would have been a totally different story.
I don't know.
I think.
I think the defensive injuries were more important. I think Pickens just did what CD would have done. I mean, you can't. I don't know if CD would have done it. I mean, how could Pickens play any better? I mean, he just played out of
Right.
his. So I'm not even going to even make any excuses for CD not being out there. I would have if it was, 40-12 or something like. Oh, if we had CD, we would have scored a couple more. But Pickens just showed why,
Right.
why they went and got him. I mean, he I don't know how he could have played any better. And then Tolbert, who is
Yeah.
wide receiver 3, comes in, and now he's wide receiver 2, and he made a clutch catch down at the end.
And wasn't it on the when we scored last in regulation with like a minute and change to go? Wasn't the ensuing kickoff return to the damn near the 50-yard line?
Yeah,
So
Cavante
I
Turner,
mean,
you would be
we
better
would,
off kicking it through the end zone, give it to him at the 35. Remember, Turpin's the guy that last year when Washington scored and there's like a minute left. Remember that game? And he fumbled the kickoff, did some sort of weird spin move, and then went 100 and whatever yards for a touchdown to seal that one. So he's not the guy you want to kick to. But
right.
kickoff
I
rules
mean,
like, well, we don't want to give him the ball at the 35 because 1 or 2 first downs and Brandon Aubrey will kick a field goal. So let's just kick it to Turpin. Well, that could cost you 6. So um, we got a lot of problems, but special teams and offense apparently are not one of our problems.
yeah.
Defense,
I was joking last night in a group chat that I'm in on X that I was on my way to Rich Bisaccia's house with a for sale sign to put it in his front yard.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Matt Eberflus can go with it because this Eberflus experiment, I mean, he continues to play zone. You have no pass rush. So when you play zone, a good quarterback's going to eat you alive. So, I'd like to see them just blitz. I mean, if the Packers score a 90-yard touchdown in one play, that's better than giving up a, 8 to 10 minute drive. And that's what they were
Right.
to the Bears. They gave up an 11-minute drive in the start the second half against the Bears, and the game was over. So, I've been saying, look, just throw the blitz out there, jailbreak blitz, and if they score in one play, you get the ball back and you launch a drive.
Yeah. And a head scratcher for me was there's two plays we were in Dallas territory on fourth and short. Why not go for it? Are you kidding me? I mean, how many times for a Packer they have a play where Tucker Kraft goes in motion and he quick gets behind the center and they hike it and it's like a push, but with our tight end that quarterback. Why aren't you using these plays?
Shocking. I was shocked when they took that 5-yard penalty on purpose to punt the
Yeah,
ball.
I
Like,
mean,
what are you doing? Because the offenses they're just scoring at will. So why would you? I mean, I would just stop punting altogether at some point in that game. As bad as the coaching was, I think what we're learning the more we look at that game, and I think you're saying this, is I think the Packers coaching might have been worse than the Cowboys coaching last night because
well, you have your head coach back to back games in press conference like saying he should have done things differently. Well,
didn't do
yeah,
it. Yeah, but thank
you
God
know,
he didn't. I mean, you're going to convert on one of those 2 first down, fourth downs, if not both of them. If you
and
convert,
if you don't get it, it's just like you're just
they're going
like
to score anyways.
yeah. I mean, it's just I don't know. I have no idea,
Both
but
teams are scoring at will. So,
But at that
you
point
don't want
too,
to punt in those
you got
games.
to think about it too, though. I mean, it was the highest. Not like the offense was playing bad;
No,
they were
that's what I'm
putting up
saying.
points, but the defense was just,
Both sides
terrible.
defense was bad, and I unfortunately for us, I just don't know how they can fix it if they keep running the same scheme. And there is a couple guys coming back on defense, but you're giving up 40 points. You get a couple starters back. What are you going to do? Give up 35 points instead, or 32?
Right.
So they got.
I,
I mean, I think Eberflus is a problem, and I don't think they're going to fire him. This is his first year there, and it's 4 games in. They're not going to fire him. He's loyal to a fault when it comes to coaches. Look at how long he kept Jason Garrett around. So
right.
I mean, I think
Uh,
we're stuck with him, and you just got to hope that you probably know more about Eberflus than I do going against him in the Bears, and you guys owned him. But I mean, is the guy ever going to do anything different, or is he going to run the zone the rest of the year? Because if he is, I might just get back to you at the end of the season because it's going to be a long year if he keeps running that zone
well,
defense.
right, because you could have teams that are playing the Cowboys in the future watch the tape last night. You could watch the Bears game against the Cowboys. You could just figure out how to just tear teams apart. And that's obviously not just with and that's with any team going into a Bears week, Cowboys week, Niners week, Packers week. You study film and you try to attack their weaknesses, and if he's not going to change, it's going to be pretty simple. You
Yeah,
know, we were having Joe Barry flashbacks last night. It was like third and 8, and our guys are playing 10 yards off. I'm like, what are you doing?
yeah,
Why are you playing 10 yards off of a guy who's off of George Pickens? Are you kidding me? And it's not even like it's a top tier. We don't really have a top tier cornerback.
yeah,
I mean Nate Hobbs is, I guess, whatever, but you have Keyshawn Nixon pegged as your one. I just I'm not too confident, and I hope that the rumors I saw today with the Packers calling to check on Asante Samuel Jr. rumors, I hope those are true.
yeah,
Because holy crap, man, it's it's just I don't get it. I really don't get it. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully the coaching staff, hopefully the players, they can all learn from this last 2 weeks and go into the bye week with a reset button and just come back out and just play football. It's
yeah. It was a shocking result. I mean, the tie was funny and kind of abnormal, and everybody's talking about, oh, I can't believe there's a tie. But I mean, going into that game, I was just hoping and praying it wasn't an embarrassment. Winning was never really on my mind. I just thought, hey, let's try to keep it close, and maybe we lose by 8 or 9. And it's like, okay, they competed. You didn't want Micah Parsons coming in there and getting 3 sacks, and Dak seeing ghosts and throwing a pick six and all that crap. Didn't see any of that. I mean, really, I think Micah made a really clutch play when he tackled Dak from behind in overtime, when Dak might have had a window to get into the end zone again like he did earlier, and Micah made that play from behind, and that might have been a win saving play for you. But other than that, he was extremely quiet. I mean, I don't think he played bad. I think they had a game plan to keep him out of the game. They ran the ball. They were running it at him, and they were rolling Dak out the opposite direction of him on pass.
and I noticed too, is like I'm trying to think, like, what's going on? Like, why isn't Dak? A lot of times they're running the ball away from him. They're making him go across, chasing the ball carrier down. You do that 20, 25 times in the game, you're going to be gassed.
Tired, yeah,
And whatever they did worked, and it's just crazy to see. Like, you think of, well, when he was in Dallas, they focus on him. The backside of the line opens up and gets their, and they eat. You know, the last 3 weeks before this week, he's made an impact. Maybe not by getting multiple sacks in a game, but he was freeing up Van Ness and Rashawn Gary, and I mean, going into last night or into this fourth week, Rashawn Gary was a leading sacks in the NFL. So I mean, his impact may not be like individual, but I
no,
mean it's more like a team impact.
yeah. Draw a double team. That means your other edge rusher and your tackles are now one on one at best. So You know,
And then Devontae Wyatt went out, and before he went out, I don't think you guys scored at all. And once he went out, then you guys just went off. It's just
yeah, that first quarter started slow, but I have I've told you this before. I have a really good friend of mine that lives in Green Bay, born and raised in Green Bay. Obviously, a huge Packers fan. And we're texting during the game, and when the Cowboys returned that 2-point conversion, I said to him, I texted him, I said, every game I've ever seen, and they're very rare. I mean, it's one in a thousand games where there's a block extra point or a return for 2 points. I said, that always affects the outcome. And he kind of texted me back. He's like, it's 13-2, dude. It's 13-2. I was like, just wait. And sure enough, it affects the outcome, right? I mean, the game doesn't go into OT and the game doesn't end in the tie if the Cowboys didn't get those 2 points. Plus, you get 2 points and then you get the ball back. So
right.
it's a 9-point play the way Dallas did it. They got 2 points, got the ball back, went down and scored a touchdown. So all of a sudden it's 13-9, and you're like, what just happened? Well, it's weird how that works. But when you miss an extra point, I'm a Notre Dame fan, and 2 weeks ago they missed an extra point against Texas A&M. As soon as they go up 6. They missed the extra point, and I go, oh, that's it. A&M's going to score, and they'll make their extra point. Boom, they win by 1 point. That's how it works, man. And it always
Yeah.
go down like that. And as soon as that happened, I kind of joked about it, but looking back on it, that ain't no joke. That's where the game turned, right? I mean, you guys go up 14-0. I just there's no momentum, there's no hope. You're getting embarrassed at home again. All of a sudden, Cowboys fans are cheering. You got 70, 80,000 people going nuts because they returned a conversion for 2 points. And you just scored
Yeah.
a touchdown, and you're like, what happened? We're supposed to be cheering. The other team's cheering. So that was a big play right there. That might have been the play of the game.
I mean, you look back and you've seen block field goals and the
Yes.
ball just sputters off in the defensive backfield, and this ball bounced right in that dude's freaking hands, and he ran. It's like just no. What are the odds? It's a block field goal and a bounce is legit, like right at his numbers, and he just takes off. It's like, come on, man.
And as soon as he caught it, my first reaction, I go, he's gone. You
Yeah.
know, my wife
Right.
was looking at me like, what just happened? I go, he's freaking gone. There's nobody
Yeah.
him in the end
Yeah.
zone. So that's funny when it happened. It's 2 points, and you're like, 2 points. But you look back on it, and you're like, well, how'd this game end up a tie? Well, they got 2 points, and I mean, it's a 3-point play alone because you get 2 points instead of the other team getting one. But they turned it into a 9-point play by driving down the field and scoring on the next possession. So we look back on it, that's going to be the difference in that game. But you know, I'm Dak's biggest critic. I'm always like, we got 2 more years on this contract after this year. We're gonna take those Packers picks and we're gonna get a new quarterback and all that. And then he goes out and he plays like that, and you're like, man, he is one of the better veteran quarterbacks in the league. Whether you
Yep.
like it or not, if you put him anywhere outside the top 10, you're just a hater because, this guy had a 124.9 QBR last night, and the Packers came in with a third rated defense in the NFL. So you tell me how many quarterbacks are going to drop a 124.9 on Green Bay's defense, and the list is going to be extremely small.
Yeah, it's just crazy how they say any given Sunday, and that's absolutely true with what we saw with like what everyone picked. All the Packers are going to blow the Cowboys out of the water. They're just going to do whatever, and
I,
and
I
it's
picked,
not the way it
I said
was.
that, you
Yeah,
know, I said it was going to, I just didn't want it to be embarrassing. So it certainly wasn't embarrassing, not for us.
yeah. No, I mean, yeah. If anything, and I think too that I think Lafleur and not so much Goody because their contracts are up. I think at the end of this year or next year. I forgot what it is, but they could be on a their seat might be getting a little bit warm. And I'd policy. I said back when they got Parsons, he's gonna make it. He wanted to make a big splash his first year as president of the Packers, and
There it
getting
is.
Parsons was it. And if you can't have a coaching staff that can get these guys to be productive on defense, I mean, look all the young talent we have on defense. I mean, you think about it, we have, Gary, Van Ness, Cooper, Parsons, we got Javon Bullard, we got Xavier McKinney, we got, I mean, there is no way like last night should have happened with that type of talent, especially with you know what I'm saying, like how they did like last year and the year before. It's just I don't know. I was gonna ask you. I know it's been a few weeks, obviously, and I'm sure you're sick of hearing the Parsons trade and everything. But what were your initial what was your initial reaction to Parsons getting traded to Green Bay?
Well, here's the thing, man. It was actually a relief because I follow it so closely that I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt he was going to hold out. I knew he was not going to be on the field week one, and there was going to be um, all kinds of extra drama surrounding the team with him being on the. I mean, look what he did in the last preseason game. He wasn't wearing he wasn't wearing anything that said Dallas Cowboys on it, and
Nope.
he laid on the trainer's table in the middle of the game.
And he walked in eating nachos,
Yeah,
cheese.
yeah.
That was a hint he's coming to Green Bay right there.
So you went from, for me, it went from that one day, and the next day they're like, "Hey, you got Kenny Clark and 2 number 1 draft picks, and the guy who wasn't going to play is gone." Um, Now they should have got the deal done back around the draft, signed him, and if he did not agree to the maximum amount of money Jerry was going to put out, which rumor, not rumors, but Jerry himself said 200 million, 5 years is what they shook hands on. But then the agent got involved. He said, no, we want 4 years, 85 to 90 million or whatever. And they were stuck on that. Well, as soon as they got stuck on that, they should have traded him back in, March. And then they still had some free agency time to get another pass rusher. But I'll tell you what, as a guy who follows football, Kenny Clark is a nice player. He made a tackle for loss last night that may have saved the game too. He's a good run stopper, and for the first time in probably 5 years or more, Dallas is actually stopping the run. And Osa Odigizua, number 97, he was in a lot last night. He's been by himself trying to stop the run for the past 3 years because Mozzie Smith is, I'm sorry, he's just not good. So you got Mozzie, who was inactive the first 2 weeks because you got Kenny Clark, and they held Saquon Barkley to 60 yards. So I don't hate the trade. I hate it for this year because we have no pass rush because they pulled the trigger late. If they would have got that trade done, 4 or 5 months earlier, they could have picked up a rusher in free agency. Now they got Javante, Clowney. He was in last night. He made a tackle or two, but he's just not in game shape yet. So, it's yet to be seen. Maybe later on the year, Clowney will turn out being okay. He's no Micah Parsons, though. But Kenny Clark is the gem. And I think they said something. One of the announcers said something. It's probably Collinsworth. He's an idiot, but that's another. But he did say something last night when Clark made a play. He's like, this guy is the one, he's the guy, quote unquote, that was involved in that trade. And he said, Dallas wanted Clark. It wasn't like, hey, we'll throw in Clark. Dallas said, we're not going to talk to you unless we get Kenny Clark because we need to stop the run. So I don't, I see the trade for what it is. You got 2 years to get your draft picks. You got probably another year to develop them. So I'm looking at 2028 before I decide whether this was a good trade or bad trade. With the result last night, I could be one of those guys and say, see, that was a great trade for Dallas. Not really. You gave up 40 points. But but
Right.
I don't, you know, I look at this, whether Mike is on the field or not, that Cowboys defense is Swiss cheese, man. Just like your backdrop there. You got holes everywhere, and Micah can't fill them all. He's only one of 11 guys in the field. So Dallas has got a lot more problems in the pass rush. Their secondary is just completely broke. Trevon Diggs, I don't know why they weren't talking about this last night. He got benched last night. He didn't
Yeah.
play. First couple series, he was on a bike riding a bike. They benched him because he played so bad against Chicago. I mean,
Yeah.
Diggs looks like he doesn't know what's going on. He hasn't come back from that injury, and he's just, they fined him 500,000 for rehabbing on his own instead of showing up to the facility. $500,000 fine they leveled on Diggs. So I think he's got one foot out the door. that secondary is in bad shape, man.
Drove me nuts last night too that they kept on calling him Stefan Diggs.
Yeah,
Like, no, it's Trayvon. His
yeah,
brother's Stefan. He plays for the. I'm just like screaming this in my house, and like my kids are, 11 o'clock at night, whatever it was. And it's like, no, it's not him. He's talking about the wrong person. Come on. And then it's like, okay, maybe they took a break, and they came back and talked about him again. They get Stefan Diggs. It's like, no, it's not Stefan Diggs.
it's probably Collinsworth, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Collinsworth, Collinsworth, man, don't get me started on him.
Oh,
The biggest problem with Collinsworth is, he did the same thing last night. Dak Prescott is playing his career game. He's one of the all-time greats or whatever. He does that every week. Whoever is playing well is one of the all-time greats. Well, the one thing I know for sure, Collinsworth, is you are not one of the all-time greats. We know that when it comes to announcing, especially. But man, sometimes I have to mute those games unless the Cowboys are playing, then I got to listen to it. But most of the time, I'll mute it and put on some music because he's tough to listen to, man.
yeah. I always joke around about him, like when he's doing games where Mahomes is playing that Collinsworth is only dressed from the waist up when he's talking about Mahomes, because it's just, you know.
Right? It doesn't
But
surprise me. Oh yeah, he's probably have him and he's already replaced Brady as the GOAT, and by halftime when Collinsworth's calling a game.
yeah, no, I look at the trade as, goes back to that policy. Obviously, his dad Carmen was involved with the Niners back in their heyday, and I just think that, and I even said before the rumors were even flying, and maybe just maybe a small hint of a trade going on. Like, he's gonna want to make a splash his first year. He's gonna want to do something that's gonna get this fan base, something excited to look forward to, and I think Parsons. I mean, first 2 3 games he looked, actually the first 2 games he looked amazing. I thought, he's only playing limited snaps, but he was forcing double teams, triple teams. He's getting, the hook hold around his neck, and the crease of the person's elbow, and getting penalties called, and he's making all the young guys better, I think, by his presence maybe, and his, like what he commands on his side of the line. You take 2 to 3 guys to block one. Well, there's still 10 more guys you gotta make up for. So I think hopefully these first 4 games have been a lesson, and they can improve. From here going
I
forward.
think it's a good trade for both teams because you got to be realistic. Dallas is now the third youngest team in the league, believe it or not. They flipped it from. It's funny because when Dan Quinn was coaching the defense and they got blown out by the Packers were the youngest team and the Cowboys were one of the oldest teams. And then here we are, 3 seasons later, and the Cowboys are one of the youngest teams. And Dan Quinn, who's coaching the Commanders, is I'm over 50, so I still say Redskins, but he he's now coaching the oldest team in the NFL. So I feel good. Like, look, we're the third youngest team in the league, and we got 4 number 1 draft picks over the next 2 years. Now, people make the argument like, well, you got Green Bay's draft picks; they might win the Super Bowl, so that's number 32. Well, number one, there is no guarantees.
Right.
God forbid, Jordan Love gets hurt, um, a couple of your key players gets hurt and you have a bad year, all of a sudden that draft pick is, top 10. Doesn't matter. You look at players in this league and they're all not number 1 draft picks. You don't number 1 overall draft pick, quite frankly, I don't know the stat on it, but it seems like that's a lot of times that's a bust because you
Yeah,
put
that's what people in Green Bay are saying. It's like, you know, Green Bay a few times have dropped down to, like, I think the last high pick they got. I mean, they got Rashawn Gary, Luke Van Ness, but even Jordan Love was picked in the 20s. I mean, you
that's what
don't
I'm talking
really.
about.
A lot of
So
them are
got
busts.
you got 2 picks, and then the other argument is, well, Jerry's gonna blow that. Well, here's the stat that'll blow your mind. In the last 15 seasons, Dallas's #1 pick has been All Pro 10 times. So they've hit gold on 10 of 15. Micah Parsons is one of them. First round pick. Jerry has picked well. He's not good in free agency. That's been our biggest issue because he's, and I don't want to say he's cheap because the man spends money like, you look at his yacht and you look at his stadium like, well, he ain't cheap, but he's a little bit stubborn. And when he offers a free agent X number of dollars. As soon as they counter, he's offended and he moves on. I mean, Derrick Henry wanted to come to Dallas. Could you imagine if Derrick Henry was in Dallas last year? They had absolutely no running game at all last year. They got a running game this year, not Derrick Henry, but Williams is playing well. But that's Jerry's problem. Draft picks is not his problem. He's drafted well, but it's just free agency that's a problem. So, hey, maybe in 3 or 4 years this will pay off because it'll be a bunch of draft picks out there because Lord knows we're not going to get any free agents.
Right. I mean, you mentioned too. I mean, I kind of go back to the Micah Parsons. People go, oh, he's terrible. He sucked. He's done something that the last person to do something like that was Reggie White. So
Yeah,
he's a generational player.
yeah,
He's
he's
just
amazing.
got to find his niche in his new home. I mean, you
Yeah,
mentioned first round picks in Green Bay. I'll go back to 2000. Bubba Franks next year. Jamal Reynolds, he was a bust. Javon Walker, he was good when until he went. I forgot what team he went to when he left for Green Bay. Nick Barnett, Ahmad Carroll, he was a bust. Aaron Rodgers, AJ Hawk was good. Justin Harrell, he was a bust. 2008, we had no pick. 2009, we traded up. We had BJ Raji, pick number 9. Clay Matthews, pick 26 in that first round. Then we had Bulaga, Derek Sherrod, he was a bust. Nick Perry was so-so. Dayton Jones, not really. Clinton Dix, Demarius Randall, Kenny Clark was in 2016. 2017, we had no pick. 2018, Jair. 2019, we had Rashawn Gary and Darnell Savage. Darnell Savage dropped huge interception opportunities against the 49ers in playoff games. 2020, Jordan Love. 21, Eric Stokes. 22, we got Quay Walker and Devontae Wyatt. So, I mean, you look at 23, we had Van Ness, then Jordan Morgan, then Matthew Golden. So, I mean, there's a couple handfuls of decent talent that we've gotten, but like you said, for the most part, a lot of those picks are bust,
yeah,
and then you think about it, uh, then you're going to invest all this money into somebody that isn't going to give you what you need in return. And, it's love Jair Alexander. It's sad to see him get released by the Packers. And now he's dealing with the same knee problem in Baltimore as what he had in Green Bay that made him miss 17 games. And people are like, oh, I should have signed him for what? Pay him all this millions of dollars to be on the sideline. You pay people top dollar to give you on the field production, not to be a cheerleader. So it's a business. Sadly enough, it's a business, and like policy, his name's on the line. Everyone involved with every organization, their decisions are huge. They're not just gonna go out there and make some dumb move because they have they feel bad for somebody. It's at the end of the day, the owners have people to feed, players have people to feed. I mean, it's just. Yeah, it's like you said. A lot of the first round picks are bust, and people get too tied into that, and it's just the Packers linemen. Most of their best linemen they're picked in the later rounds. It's
absolutely.
you
I mean,
know,
look at, we're talking about how great Dak played. There's a 4th round pick right there. 4th round pick to be a backup. He's supposed to be a backup for Romo, and then all of a sudden,
yeah.
and then it goes back to the last quarterback they had that was all Pro Bowl level quarterback was Tony Romo. Nobody drafted him. All 32 teams passed on Romo. He did not get drafted. They picked him up as a undrafted free agent, and he ended up having a decent career there. So it's not always the draft, but if you got 4 #1 picks over the next 2 years and you hit on 50% of them, that's huge. That's huge. So the
Well,
more
what if something even comes up to where you guys might use that as trade capital?
you're getting ready to pick on draft day, that always happens,
Yeah.
and some other team looks at your pick and go, "Man, I need that guy that's on the board," and they got
Yep.
a pick. I'm going to give you this, or I'm going to give you that, give you a player plus my second round pick, whatever, So, they lost two picks for Pickens, but the Steelers gave them a pick in return, so they basically lost, no pun intended, a pick for Pickens. So they made up for that by getting the two picks for Parsons. So they're in good position to draft. But now all of a sudden, after last night, and they played horrible against the Bears. And I think if you look at that game Dallas played against the Bears, it's 14-14. They had a slow start, but they got back into it. And then CD rolls his ankle. And, you see him going into the tent. And then you see him going to the locker room. They never scored again. So, you know, I had a fear going into this game they couldn't play without CD. They just needed to practice a week without him and get Pickens get all those plays to Pickens that they would do normally to CD. So I feel like, hey, CD can probably sit the next 4 weeks and get healthy, and they can let Pickens do his thing. I'm looking forward to it. Schedule gets a little bit softer here. We got the Jets, we got the Panthers, the next two. So, now all of a sudden it's like, well, you play half as good as you did last night, and they should win both those games. And all of a sudden you're back into the wild card race. But you can't lose to either one of those two teams and expect to be a playoff team.
Right. And, talking about injuries and whatnot, I mean, and stuff happening now versus happening down the road. Sucks that Jaden Reed got hurt against the Commanders. He broke his collarbone, but
Ouch.
he was also fighting with the Jones fracture in his foot. So when he got his collarbone repaired, he got his foot repaired at the same time. So he took out two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
Have him come back healthy, right, for the stretch. And then we got Christian Watson, who was running full speed, 22-mile-an-hour sprints during
Yeah.
training camps on the sideline. I mean, he blew out his knee last year, last game of the year against the Bears, and he's, you know, probably be back by
Yeah.
week, I don't know, week 8, week 9, week 10. So I mean, get our linemen healthy, just come back with a clean slate, and I think the Packers. I think the Packers fans are hitting that panic button after week 4. It's not all Packer fans, obviously. Some want to blame players, some want to blame coaches. It could be a mixture of both, I guess. But when it comes down to it, coach can't go out there and play for you. So I mean,
Oh, yeah. That's for sure. And I mean, they'll be all right. No one's. I mean, the Vikings don't look good. I mean, they don't look good at all. The Bears, the Packers own the Bears. That's just a fact of life. So Detroit, they've got a loss in the loss column. Y'all got a tie last night. You hope that doesn't hurt you in the end, but you're right there. What do you're basically half game out right now in the fourth week. So
yeah.
no
And
reason.
then we come back from the bye and we play a Joe Burrow list Bengals.
There you go.
So, okay, so that could be another test right there, like another okay. If they don't beat the Bengals, now what? You know what I'm saying? But you got the Bengals, Cardinals, Steelers, Panthers, and then you play the Eagles. So you can come out from the bye. We're what 2-1-1. You could
Yeah.
be 5-1-1 going against, or no, we could be 6-1-1 by the time we meet the Eagles. In week 10. So I think there's a possibility in the Eagles. Jalen Hurts didn't have any completions in the second half yesterday, and they still won. I just don't get. He keeps on skirting by with these low stats.
Yeah, that's like Jackson Dart yesterday. He threw for 111 yards, and the Giants fans are ready to put him in the Hall of Fame. We finally got our quarterback. He threw for 111 yards, guys. Let's you got to have a team around him, and that's what Jalen Hurts has. He has a team around him, so he doesn't need to throw for 300. He does it now and then, but for the most part, I mean, he can run the ball. He could pass the ball if he's protected, and they have a great offensive line. Um,
Jackson Dart, you might have a quarterback, but what happened to your receiver? He's out.
yeah, they're screwed. They're
So,
Malik Neighbor out for the year. I mean,
oh man,
so
I just
they got a win yesterday, which was a nice surprise for them. No one saw that coming. I think people were hopeful that would happen, but they figured, well, Jackson Dart go out there and throw for 300, maybe the Giants will win. He threw for 100 and they won. So, you know, that happens a lot of times. You don't have film on these guys, and you
Right.
don't kind of defense to run against them. So it's going to get tougher, especially without Neighbors. Um, Washington is in a little bit of trouble without Daniels out there right now. So, the Cowboys they're all of a sudden back. Just when I thought I was done with them, they pulled me back in. Here we go again. So they're right in the mix right now in the NFC East.
Yeah, it's definitely it's week by
That,
week things change. I mean, you got didn't the Jaguars win yesterday?
and they look great. They look great. I mean, that's the closest stadium to my house. It's about 2.5 hours from where I'm sitting. So we get all the Jags games, and they're just so bad year after year. But all of a sudden, I was watching a little yesterday. I was like, man, this team's not bad. Maybe I need to drive down and watch them play this year. Not a big Trevor Lawrence fan, but that team looked pretty solid. Looks like they might be competing for that division at some point here if they continue playing the way they are.
Hell, they might pay you to come down and watch them.
Yeah, I've been. The only time I went in that stadium was when Notre Dame played the Gator Bowl there. I've been in nice stadium. That's a nice. It's easy to get in and out too. But
Yeah,
I've not been. Like I said, I'm not really uh, a big Trevor Lawrence fan, so I'm kind of
yeah,
not going over there. But now I'm starting to think maybe I should go watch a little football in Jacksonville sometime. I think it's easy to get a ticket. They don't have a strong fan base. That's why they go overseas for a lot of their games too. So maybe
yeah,
get over there.
yeah. Whenever I see Trevor Lawrence, he reminds me of Blossom,
Right?
with with Joey Lawrence and whatnot.
He needs to get a haircut like yours, Brian. I mean,
Hey, it's free, man. I don't have to pay any money for it.
right? He's getting those. He got that shampoo commercial, and he in like a Head and Shoulder commercial or something.
Yeah.
So now he's got to
Yep.
keep it long, man. They're paying him now.
Hair is worth money. Kind of like Clay Matthews when he had his long hair.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Where do you see the Cowboys after what you've seen from them through week 4? Can you kind of gauge like where you see them finishing? Like, do you think they make the playoffs? Do you think they
Man,
are a threat to the Eagles at all?
if they can win their next 2 games, then I'll believe they're a wild card team. I don't see them without a defense doing any damage towards Philly. I mean, they could win that Philly game at home later in the year. That's they. I mean, they almost beat Philly week 1. I mean, that was another one. Was like, man, I thought we were supposed to get blown out there, but the game we're supposed to win against Chicago, that's when we get blown out. But I think if they win these next 2 games, I'll start talking. This is a wild card team. But if you're giving up 30 to 40 points a game like they have been, it's hard to say you're even going to win these next 2. They got to figure something out on defense until they got a couple guys hurt. Um, Overshawn is one they're really missing. You'll notice that the linebacker core that they have right now is slow and they don't cover anyone over the middle. The Packers were eating them alive over the middle. The Bears were eating them alive over the middle. They just don't have any speed at linebacker right now. But when Overshown comes back, they will. That might change things in the second half of the year. Diggs and Bland are both coming off major knee surgeries. It was nice to see them both on the field last night, but they just don't have that step. I mean, you look at, you complimented our running back, Javonte Williams. He had an ACL tear 2 years ago, and right now it's like he's finally back. You might come back in 1 year, but you don't have that explosive speed you had after just 1 year of ACL surgery. So, um, there's still some big holes in that defense. For me to say they're a playoff team is a little bit of a stretch right now, but they have heart. You saw it last night. That team has some heart.
Yeah.
Um, and I think they like, and so far I do like our new coach. I mean, Shoddy, he seems to be emotional. He seems to inspire the team. They don't give up. So, it's nice to get rid of McCarthy. I know the last time you and I did a show together, the first thing I said to you is, "Do you want McCarthy back? Because we'll just put him on the bus and send him over." But you declined. You did not want McCarthy. Well, we finally got rid of him, and I think that's a positive.
Well, he's back in Green Bay permanently now, so he's living back again in Green Bay. So
Yeah, I heard he bought that house right across from the Waffle House downtown.
no, he got that wrong. He put a Waffle House inside of his house.
Even better.
No, and I think too, going back to the Parsons trade, I think with everything going on, obviously with Parsons having the same agent as Jordan Love, Xavier McKinney, and a
Yeah,
few other players in the Packers, then having that McCarthy tie to Dallas and both Green Bay, with Dallas being the team that he coached most recently with Micah Parsons, I think probably some talk, which it
yeah,
probably involved him at some capacity. I would think maybe, maybe not. I don't know, but I just hope, I hope the trade works out for both teams. Kenny Clark, I loved him in Green Bay, man. He's a solid. He carried the G with pride, and he did it the way he was supposed to. He didn't gripe. He comes out after last year and says that he played with his foot hurt all last year. I mean, that's a guy that big playing with a hurt foot. That takes balls, man. And it's just, it sucks that he had to be part of the trade, but at least he didn't go to the Lions or the Bears or the
right,
Vikings.
right. I feel the same way about. I mean, Micah's from Pennsylvania, so if he would have went to Philly, man, I would have. Jerry, I would have. I would have probably got kicked off of X for the things I would have said about Jerry. But you know, going
Didn't
to
they try to get Micah Parsons? Didn't they have a trade out there and Jerry wouldn't trade him to a division?
yeah, he said
Yeah,
he wouldn't even speak to Washington. Wanted him. Dan Quinn obviously wanted him, but that's not going to happen. So, I would have preferred him not go to an NFC team, but if he is, then out of our division, and that's what happened. Yeah, I mean, people say I'm crazy for saying it, but I think the trade was a good trade for both teams at the time. We would be talking right now going into week 5, and the first question you'd ask me is, when are they going to sign Micah? That's where we'd have been right now. He'd have been on the bench. You wouldn't have Kenny Clark out there, and you wouldn't have any draft picks. So you'd have had Micah standing over on the sideline waiting for $250 million. So, and
yeah,
Jerry would have been up in his luxury box saying, "Up, I'll sit here forever. I don't care," and
yeah,
that's where they were going with it. So, we're lucky that they got something at all for him, and they got a pretty. I mean, 2 number 1s is that's something you don't see. I mean, when's the last time you saw that? You know,
right,
people are, they could have got 4 number 1. I'm like, I don't think anybody's going to give up 4 number 1s. I don't care if you got Tom Brady in his prime. I don't think anyone's going to give up 4 number 1 picks for
come on,
one.
it's not Herschel Walker. Let's go.
Right, right. Well, even then, watch that documentary on Netflix. You learn so much about that because back then we didn't have social media and 24-hour sports news and all that. I don't remember a lot of the details of that trade, but where they really got Minnesota on that trade was there was bonus picks if the players Minnesota gave them got cut. So the very first day that I think there was 4 or 5 players came over from Minnesota, and the first thing Jimmy Johnson did was cut them all, cut them all, and then Minnesota was like, "Whoa, now we got to give you 4 more picks," and Jimmy's like, "Yep, now give us 4 more picks," and then 2 or 3 years later, they're winning Super Bowls. So I'm not saying that's going to happen again, but it is very, very similar. And Green Bay's not dumb enough to say, well, if you cut Kenny Clark, we'll give you 4 picks, or they would have cut him.
Right,
So that was the big reason why they were able to build championships was on the trade for Herschel Walker getting those picks. So I think Jerry thinks he's going to do it again. I think Jerry thinks this is gonna put him over the top, but um, it's a different game now, and free agency is different, so it's going to be tough to do that. But I'm looking forward. At least we can look forward to 3 or 4 years from now and say, well, we got these 4 number 1s. Let's see where they're at when they develop.
right,
So I'm overall I'm happy about it, and I don't dislike Micah, and I've been cheering for him except for last night. I've been cheering for him to do well, and I all the Packers fans I talk to say the same thing you just said. We love Kenny Clark. We want to see him do right. I mean, I,
yeah. Like they said that when they found out his mom was beside herself. She was so upset. and I think his wife was too, and he's just like it's a business, you
Yeah.
know. You know, you even got like kind of crossover to the NBA, like Giannis. Recently came out and said that he expects the Bucks down the road to when he's whatever to maybe trade him. He just knows that it's a possibility. Anything is possible. Whatever your current boss, your owner, or GM thinks is going to benefit the team in the long run, they're going to do. You
Yep.
know, you don't think they make these calls like blindfolded.
No.
There's reasoning behind it. You know what I'm saying? It's just people are so quick to be GM, coach GMs that they think they know everything, and let it play out. Give it a chance. There's a reason why, you know, the Packers, with their history through the years and everything, trust someone like Ed Policy. Not like he just got hired on; he's been in the system for a while at Green Bay. He just got promoted to the president. So I mean, and you look at his lineage, his dad with the Niners. I mean, he knows what he's doing. He's not gonna put the team in a spot to where they're vulnerable and they're going to be just absolutely terrible. I mean,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? It's just he's not like I would say the Cleveland Browns, but I don't can't really say much about that because we got beat by them last weekend. But some of these teams that I mean, you look at okay, hot takes, whatever, but the Giants, Saquon Barkley, Xavier McKinney. And then you got Daniel Jones going to the Colts looking like freaking Peyton Manning from when you know what I'm saying? So
Boom.
you never know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just
It's
I
a
don't
system.
know. And
Some guys fit better in different systems. Look, Steve Young. I'm dating myself, but Steve Young basically the Buccaneers didn't want him anymore. And the Niners are like, well, you can come over here and back up Joe Montana. Next thing you know, he's league MVP and they're winning the Super Bowl. So it's the system. It's a lot of it is the offensive line and your running game and all that. So any player can succeed if they're in the right system. Any good player can succeed if they're right system. And some of these guys like Daniel Jones, I think they asked him to do too much because they didn't have any protection for him. And yeah, they had Odell Beckham for a while, but we know what happens. I mean, he's got so much drama, nobody wants him anymore. He's one of those guys like Zeke Elliott. Zeke won't retire, and Odell Beckham won't retire, so they're just free agents. Yeah, good luck because teams don't want that drama. But Daniel
yeah,
I think he kind of always kept his mouth shut and just went and did his business, and now he's in a system that works. Although they did lose yesterday, but he's played extremely well.
yeah, didn't he have some record? Was it like three passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown in his first three games?
Insane.
Something like that. I mean, it's just
And yesterday they had a big late touchdown called back, like a 60-yard touchdown by Taylor. And the reason I know that is because he's my fantasy running back. So yeah, that cost me my game. But so they're one penalty flag away from being 4-0 right now. So the Colts might be I don't know. It's early, but I think they're going to be a playoff team. I think it's safe to say that they're looking like a playoff team. With
yeah,
Daniel, unbelievable.
yeah. Like you said, they get the right player in the right system. He's gonna, if there's the potential of thriving in that system is you don't know until you try it, right? I mean, Giants didn't like what they saw, and obviously they didn't want to retain him, so they let him go. Now he's in Indianapolis and he's doing good things. And you look at um, what's his nuts from I can't think of his name, Sam Darnold.
Yeah,
Look at
great.
him. Then he went to Minnesota, huge. Got a
Yeah,
big payday to go to Seattle, and so I mean, it's all within the system you're in. And I mean, I hate to be on the drum, but look at Green Bay system. You got go from Favre to Rodgers to Jordan Love. I mean,
yeah,
there's something that teams have standards apparently for certain things, and you know, so
definitely.
yeah. Where do you see the season finishing out from what you've seen so far? What do you think are your top AFC and NFC teams? Like top AFC and top NFC and who's gonna win?
I think you got to tip your hat to the Eagles for their record, but they do have flaws, and I think they're beatable. Um, Tampa made a nice comeback yesterday. Baker Mayfield, there's another great example talking about guys that succeed in the right system. Baker, it looks amazing over there in Tampa. He just fits in so well. Detroit Detroit's looking good, man. I hate to say that to you guys, but all of a sudden, week one, you're like, well, they missed Ben Johnson. They have no creativity in their offense. Then I turn on their game last week. They're doing some double flea flicker reverse touchdown. I'm like, okay, same guy,
They're back.
guys, right? It's like, okay, just because you're not Ben Johnson doesn't mean you can't run a trick play. And now all of a sudden you're going to have fears of Detroit running trick plays again. So they're going to be in the mix. The Packers will be in the playoffs as well. They still have a chance to win their division as well. I'm kind of, I don't see the Vikings or the Bears. I just don't see them in the playoffs. And I know the Bears thumped us last week, but I think, like I said, you look at that 14-14 game and then you see CD running the ball and getting his ankle turned, and then he's in the blue tent. And I think the offense never scored again. The offense that you saw last night could not score a point against the Bears in the second half.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's not going to happen again, unless Pickens gets hurt. Now you don't have CD or Pickens, but I think they've gotten over that. So I'm not worried about the Bears in the long run for you guys, especially. I think it's going to be you and Detroit getting out of there. One's going to win the division. One's going to be a wild card. I don't think the Niners are what they used to be, but they probably are a playoff team. And I think Tampa could do some damage. So, I'm kind of looking at Philly, Tampa, Green Bay, and Detroit as your top four. And in the AFC, man, I'm kind of a closet Bills fan because I was born in upstate New York. I think that might be the team to beat in the league. The way they handled the Ravens, I'm not. I don't see anybody touching them if they stay healthy. But they are the Bills, though. They find a way to lose in the playoffs, like the Lions. They find a way to lose in the playoffs and not complete the task. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the Bears, and I had Bears fans. Obviously, I have some Bear fans that I follow on Twitter or whatever, and they're always taking jabs and whatnot. I mean, it is what it is. They're saying that the Packers have lost to the bottom feeders the last 2 years or the last two games, and I mean, then you got well, the Browns had a top defense last year almost, and top defense this year, and it is what it is, and then you got Bears that they won on a blocked field goal against the bottom feeder Raiders. So
Right.
come on, I mean, it's just like they're finally waking up after 1985. I always joke about because they're in hibernation. You know,
Yeah.
look at the record. I mean, do I have to pull out the records of our quarterbacks against the Bears over the last 40 years or 30 years? I mean, it's mind-boggling that they have a couple, a few good games a year, and then they quiet down again. So.
Well, they can have their coach back if they want Eberflus.
Uh,
Eberflus McCarthy package. We could probably arrange that. The Bears should have McCarthy calling the plays on offense and Eberflus calling the plays on defense.
yeah, I'll take an undercover trip down to the Windy City and find Mr. Ben Johnson and
Make it happen. Yeah, Ben Johnson is probably not going anywhere soon, but
right.
I mean, I don't know. I think Caleb Williams might be what we refer to as a coach killer, because I don't see him taking any blame for anything that happens. It's just again, I'm a Notre Dame fan, so I do not like USC. He
He was
paid.
only there for 1 year. He didn't
He
do
put
anything
on
there
when they
anyway.
played Notre Dame. His fingernail said FUND.
Yeah.
So that doesn't fly. There's no reason to do that. Like Notre Dame or not, they're a classy institution, and there's no reason that you would do
Yep.
something like that. That told me a lot about his character. So I'm not a fan. I don't mind saying it. I'm not a
I
fan.
heard that he has audible plays on his nails now.
Oh,
He
well,
he
perfect.
check downs, looks at his
Yeah,
nails and calls a play.
look down. Yeah. Well, what happens when he breaks a nail on a hit?
They got replacement stick-ons.
Oh, okay. As I say, you won't know the playbook once you break your nail. But I mean, the guy has talent. I mean,
Yeah.
he's an amazing athlete. His ball is such a good tight spiral. But I noticed that I'm surprised he doesn't take a lot of risks. It seems to me like he would rather not throw an interception than throw a 50-50 ball sometimes. And I think you've got to just, show some guts now and then throw the ball up. I think, Dak threw that ball up last night to Pickens in the sideline, and no one knows how he caught it, but hey, he was double covered, and Dak threw that ball, and that ended up being a big play of the game. That's the kind of
Right.
stuff Williams is going to have to swallow his pride and be willing to take some interceptions. The Bears fans, I'm not picking on Bears fans here, Bears fans, sorry, but
No, you're not.
they take pride in last year's stats where he only threw like 8 picks the whole year, 20 touchdowns, 8 picks, something like that. Oh, look at this, look at this. I'm like, well, you should be throwing 40 touchdowns in today's league. And if you throw 16 or 20 interceptions and 40 touchdowns, that's okay. Put some points on the board. So,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with him. Look at Peyton Manning, his rookie year. He set the all-time record for touchdowns as a rookie, and he also set the all-time record for interceptions as a rookie the same year. So, but that's what turned him into the player he is. So Caleb Williams, I think, is going to have to cut loose a little bit. I think he's a little bit too conservative at times, and that's going to be all right for you guys. So I think you guys you'll sweep them again.
Well, we didn't sweep them last year, so
I know, but did that game even matter? I mean, did you
no.
even? Yeah, that game didn't even
To
matter.
them it did, but not to us really. I mean,
That's a garbage.
one thing I think about last night too is I'm getting to this thing to where I'm doing Google Doc, typing down notes like every now and then, like what I noticed and everything. And towards the end of the game, Emmanuel Wilson was doing great with the ball. He had that big gain towards the end of the game, even in extra time. And why did you abort him? You know what I'm saying? Why'd you go away from it? You could do, you know, a little swing pass out of the backfield, or a little screen to him, and have him go down the field and get out of bounds and do it, and then once they think you're gonna go to him, that's when you get it's just I'm
Yeah,
just sitting here going over
that
the notes, and
screenplay
it's
is
just
what Philly was using against us in week 1 because our linebackers are so slow.
yeah.
So I think what you had last night, and for your sake, thank God they got out of there without losing. I think they may have went in a little overconfident, thinking, hey, this is, we're AT&T Stadium, we're undefeated, we got Micah, they don't, they lost CD, and I think they might have been a little overconfident, which surprised me because after the loss last week to the Browns, you would have that they would have corrected those flaws. Um, Maybe they did in the fact that you scored more points, but obviously on defense it went the opposite direction. So they've got some things to clean up. Dallas has certainly got a lot to clean up on defense, but both teams got to walk away going, okay, our offenses are clicking. I mean, you score 40 points in this league, you win the game, period. You just don't
Right.
you don't lose games scoring 40 points. So you can't, you pick plays here and there like, look, we had the ball down on the 5-yard line or whatever in overtime and had to kick a field goal. I can look at that and go, the play calling sucked. Well, the play calling doesn't suck if they score on one of the plays that we think sucked because it got stopped. But at the end of the day, you scored 40 points. That should be good enough to win a game. And it
Yeah.
wasn't. And so it's the defense. Both teams got to fix defense.
Right. Well, I'm gonna leave you with this. The Bears fans want to be like us so bad they gotta share their bye week with us.
Oh, I didn't know that. Maybe you guys could
Yeah.
do a joint scrimmage or something that week.
No, if it was up to me, I'd have the Packers still locked in at 1265 Lombardi Avenue, man. You ain't coming out after
Yep.
until we, our home game against the Bengals.
At
Maybe
least
that's what the Packers need. They need to have a team like Cincinnati come in. I think our next game is a home game in Green Bay. Have a home game and get your crap back on the track and get going.
yeah, they will.
But
They'll get it corrected. It's and some of it might have been just the way, Dallas was really clicking on offense, man. Dak, I mean, 31 for 40, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns in the air, 1 on the ground. I don't know if the backup in Cincinnati is going to put up a game like that against Green Bay's defense. So you guys will get it back on track.
well, they signed one of our old backups, Sean Clifford, the
Yeah,
Penn State boy.
the guy out of Washington, the heck is his name? Browning. Browning is their starter. If you
Yeah,
remember, University of Washington. I mean, it's been 5 or 6 years. They might have made the national championship. They made the playoff. When it was a 14 playoff, he was their starter, and they were scoring a lot of points back then. So I
yeah,
think you'll see him tonight, and you'll get some film on him, and you guys will be fine. But he's probably going to be their backup going forward. And I don't know if we're going to see Burrow again this year. And Burrow, we're going to look back in 10 years. We're going to go, remember that guy Joe Burrow? Man, he could have been something, but he kept getting hurt. Unfortunately, he might be one of those guys. It's like, what if?
yeah, for sure. It's just sad to see some of these guys with such
Yeah,
a
injury
high
prone.
ceiling get limited by injuries, and by some say that the ownership isn't doing enough for him. As far as getting players and stuff. And I was even reading, or did I hear Boomer Esiason saying that they're having like some type of like bringing back like old players from the past, and they're not even paying for
Wow.
their travel expenses. I mean, come on, man. Really,
Yeah,
what they
that's
put on the line for your organization, you can't even pay for them to travel back to.
yeah. And
You
then
think
you're
about
not,
a lot of those guys from back then didn't make much compared to what the guys are making now. They can't afford anything.
and they had Super Bowl teams back then too. That's sad, but that hurts them in free agency. If you're not willing to spend money, and that gets around, and free agents aren't gonna want to go there, and that's sad. But I'm more worried about Burrow's health and whether he ever really comes back again, 100%. It just doesn't look good.
Yeah, I was always saying before he signed his big contract there that he should have went to Minnesota and
Yeah,
hooked back up with Jefferson,
yeah, yeah,
like the LSU days, and then
yeah.
Minnesota wouldn't be in this predicament that they're in now.
They
But
thank God they didn't, right? Because you deal with Joe Burrow in your division. That's a guy you don't
yeah,
want to deal with. That guy, he's good, man. When he's healthy, he's as good as they get.
yeah, sure is. Well, listen, Reg, I want to thank you for taking time out of your night tonight to help
Appreciate you.
me discussing the Old West shootout last night and at
Yeah.
JerryWorld. It was entertaining. Even though it was a tie game, I felt like we lost and you felt like you won. So, you know, we'll leave it at that. And
I went to bed feeling like we won. I realized the next morning we didn't, but yeah,
yeah, you guys still won, I think.
yeah. We'll take
um,
it. We'll take the tie this time.
for sure, working.
Hopefully we'll see again in the playoffs, but it's going to take some work on our part. But
Hopefully this time it'd be in Green Bay.
yeah, well, we do better in Green Bay actually. I mean, they do not play well. They do not play Green Bay well at home for some reason. But
Now there's 6-0-1
yeah,
at home against Green Bay. So
yeah.
we'll see. Where can people find you on social media?
So primarily I'm on X. That's Irish_Cowboy 88 is my handle. Run a podcast with my son called Sons of the Star. We're both obviously Cowboys fans, and his name is Dallas, named after the team. So you can find our podcast if you just stop by my page. And Brian's got my info. If you didn't write that down, just hit him up and he'll give you my handle. But I cover all things NFL. Obviously, I'm a Cowboys fan, but I try to keep it real and cover all things. So you can dislike the Cowboys and still like my page. Brian here, my friend, is a great example of that.
Well, again, thank you. You can find me on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at CheezeTalk_pod. Cheese is with a Z. And yeah,
I just call you
absolutely.
Cheese Goat. That's it.
Cheese goat. Yeah, I love my cheese. So that's I'm not gonna deny that at all. So
Me too, brother. I love me a Mars Cheese Castle. When I lived up in northern Indiana, we'd go to Wisconsin now and then for concerts and different activities, and always got to stop by the Mars Cheese Castle. So I know what
yeah.
you're talking about.
Yeah, I support local. I have one like 40 seconds from my house. Not a Mars Cheese Castle, but a local family
Even
out in the
better.
middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden, boom! There's a silo and a house and a building. They make their own cheese in house, and
Hey,
although
love it.
they're
Next
quite a
time
bit.
I'm
So
up there, I'll
again,
be hitting you up to let me know where to go.
All right, man. Sounds good. Hey, thanks again, and have a good night, Reggie.
You too, brother. Thanks for
Yep.
having me.
Yep.
Peace.
See ya.